There is a moment early on in the demo of Hell Is Us where the player is tasked with a simple objective, finding a vehicle and venturing deeper into the war-torn country of Hadia. It's a simple first objective, nothing you haven't seen before in the action-adventure genre, but Hell Is Us isn't trying to be your typical action-adventure game. Instead of a standard objective marker, the player is told to follow wind chimes placed in the woods to find the location of a vehicle. Once the player enters the woods, there's a tense sadness that hangs in the air. The wind chimes are a reminder of a period before the recent conflict, like a forgotten memory overgrown with time. This is the moment where the demo got its hooks in me, engrossing me in an atmosphere that feels so natural. From the first trailer, the atmosphere of Hell Is Us is what had me so intrigued in the first place, using 90s retrofuturism and unique supernatural entities grounded in an extremely violent conflict creates a mix that blends a lot of familiar iconography into a unique final product. The aesthetic and atmosphere blend right into the first pillar of the gameplay, exploration. With no quest log, compasses, or objective markers, there's more responsibility on the player to progress through the game. There are some tools to help you in the datapad, and the environment has plenty of natural signposting, so the player isn't completely on their own. While exploring, the player can find environmental puzzles, with the first one in the demo being a children's game to find a hidden chest, with the hiding spot being marked by a certain color of paint. One quality of life improvement that Hell Is Us makes to puzzle solving is allowing the player to put important items for puzzle solutions, like a document, into their consumable items, allowing them to bring it up at any point at the push of a button. Besides puzzles, one of the other main mechanics in a player's exploration of the world is conversations. They're fairly simple, with prompts for the NPC to reveal information in the main story, and optional prompts that give the player more context to the ruined world that they travel through. The first of these, an old farmer, provides us with the location of a vehicle, a military APC that's in the area. He also, if the player chooses, tells the player more about the history of Hadia, its conflicts, and the perspectives about what's going on. The wind chimes, for example, were hung up for his sons when they were younger, 3 of whom have been killed in the Civil War. While this is an anecdotal example within a demo, there's a clear attempt to coat this exploration and world building. Through my hour with the game so far, I never felt like I was just finding the next objective, but instead returning a color to a world that had the color ripped out of it. In terms of the main story, I'm less sold on it. You play as Remy, a peacekeeper who snuck his way into the country of Hadia, which is currently in complete isolation. The demo opens with the scene of Remy being interrogated by Moreau from Resident Evil Village, who is questioning him about why and how he not only entered, but got out of Hadia as well. We're thrown back to the beginning of Remy's expedition in the country. In the whole demo, Remy is my biggest question mark. I wasn't able to get a lot out of him as a character. He's, and this is completely subjective, my least favorite type of video game protagonist. Someone who is a defined person with their own name, motivations, and personality, but everything is pared back enough so they can also be a blank canvas for the player to imprint themselves upon. Besides that, I think this game is setting up such an interesting world and mystery, but Remy just doesn't do it for me. He's infiltrating Hadia to search for his parents, and while he has a history with the country, it's new to us, so there's a disconnect there. The world that Rogue Factor has created is the best kind of video game world. It doesn't feel like a space to play in, but a physical space that is the way it is because of the history that has molded it. Part of the woods is cleared out for a small farm, just a short distance away from an ancient ruin that the woods have begun to reclaim. By forcing the player to be an active participant in the exploration, it also seems to want the player to be active in how they engage with the world. While the demo is only a small slice of the larger game, and the jury still remains out on if it will remain consistent throughout the whole experience, in this portion I was engrossed in both the world in front of me and how the game was expecting me to interact with it. The last big topic to talk about in the demo is the combat. And while it stands out a little bit compared to the contemplative exploration, it's also solid as hell. After watching a soldier get cut down, Remy grabs a poncho, dons a sword, and begins cutting down the hollow walker enemies that stand in his way. There's been comparisons to Souls-like, but that's not totally accurate. It's a third-person action melee game with the usual light and heavy attacks, dodging, parrying, and special abilities. The demo has 2 weapons available, the starting sword and twin axes. One didn't seem to be particularly better than the other, but once I found the axes, I did stick with them. Remy feels good to control. Part of that is the ubiquity of the mechanics that he uses, but the other part is that the mechanics are just used very well. His dodge feels generous, the hits on an enemy and the parries have great feedback, and the drone that Remy gets not only helps with exploration, but it has its own abilities that can be used in the combat. The only one available in the demo is Distract, which distracts enemies, and is useful when taking on groups of enemies. The last important mechanic is health, which has 2 main changes from most other games. The first is that stamina and health are tied together. If Remy takes damage, his max stamina takes damage as well. The second is the Healing Pulse, a mechanic that's essentially a mix of the Bloodborne rally mechanic and active reload from Gears of War. If the player has taken damage, they can recover health by damaging enemies and then timing a button press. Both of these health mechanics make health feel more like a resource that needs to be actively managed than in most games when it's just used to determine a fail state. I've talked around them for a little bit now, but one of the most intriguing parts of the game is the Hollow Walkers, the enemies that Remy faces in the world of Hadia. They're faceless, humanoid creatures that move erratically and seem to attack on sight. There are two versions that Remy can fight in the demo, a standard grunt and one with wings that has a wider range of attacks and also can fly. There's also linked enemies, which are one of the Hollow Walkers combined with a haze, and both need to be defeated for the enemy to be finally killed. Unfortunately, in the short window that I played, the combat seemed incredibly easy. I never came across more than 2 enemies at once, and no enemy hits hard enough to feel like a legitimate threat on their own. I played on normal, and unless the game does more with combat scenarios, it seems like it's going to be breezier than I would like it to be, and I'd maybe recommend actually playing on hard mode. In just a short period of time, Hell has managed to win me over with its atmosphere, exploration, and the bones of really fun combat. While there's still the question marks about how the full experience will shape up, this hour-long experience solidified my excitement for the game, and I look forward to playing it through the whole thing in just a few short weeks. If you played the demo, what did you think about it? Let me know and subscribe to see a full review of the game shortly after its release. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.